Welcome to Digital Nation, your weekly roundup of the best of local TV. Whether it's an ancient relic uncovered in an unlikely place, or the creator of an American monetary icon, we give you an insight into the stories you just don't see anywhere else. This week, we take a look behind the scenes at a hospital radio station in Kirkcaldy. We discover an ancient Indian dance performance in Preston. And we watch the first steps of a newborn baby lamb in Lochgoilhead. Loving local? Then let us know what you think by using the hashtag #DigitalNation. The anniversary of the London Blitz this year allowed the nation to remember the campaign of bombing that took place during the Second World War, and photographer Wolfgang Szysicki captured the aftermath of the city's devastation with his camera, offering a different perspective on London's wartime past.
If I think something is worth photographing, I press the button, which is not too difficult to do. I'm now 103 and I'm observing. I'm looking around me what is worth photographing. It's difficult to describe a big town like London. What I remember best is the sound of glass being swept from the front doors, which was quite considerable. I went for a walk through the city and I came across this view of St. Paul's Cathedral through a ruined window to remind people what it was like in this town. It's to show the devastation of London, which was by the Germans still meant to scare us.
To Birmingham now, where a brand new Thai temple has been unveiled. The temple is the only one of its kind in the city and is set to be the destination for the local Thai population to come together for worship and community activity. BCTV in Birmingham went along to discover more.
A show of happiness, celebrations and community spirit as Thai locals come together to welcome Birmingham's brand new and only Thai temple.
It's in the Thai culture. People attend the temple not just for worship, but it's also used as a social centre. So all Thai people visit us and they can speak to each other in Thai, they can enjoy Thai customs, and they can enjoy Thai food. And we also teach things like meditation and other parts of the Thai culture.
The blessings and chants were carried out by senior monks from Thailand in front of an audience of hundreds.
ที่ทุกคนเป็นชาวพุทธได้มาร่วมกันแสดงความยินดีณสถานที่นี้
He said from his heart that he's so proud of Thai people. We can be together in today.
It was the growing Thai congregation and local community that injected £1.6 million into the creation of this temple, which took 5 years to develop.
We bought the building 5 years ago. It was essentially a group of Victorian houses. It was latterly owned by the Salvation Army and used as a hostel. When we bought it, it was in a fairly dilapidated state, and we have literally spent the last 5 years getting it to the state that suits us now.
Next, we uncover the story of a merchant from Brady in Ireland who played a key role in North American history. Oliver Pollock sailed to Philadelphia in 1760 at the age of 23 and built a business empire that helped to create the US dollar sign and enabled him to contribute financial support to the American War of Independence.
Thank you for having me here in Brady today. It's a real privilege to unveil this plaque in honor of Oliver Pollock.
Oliver Pollock emigrated to America in 1760. Now, not many years after he arrived in America, he became involved in business in Philadelphia, and he went on to become one of the most successful businessmen in America. During the American War of Independence, he personally financed the Mississippi Campaign, a little known but important campaign during the American War of Independence. From his base in New Orleans, he traded extensively in the surrounding area, and he was dealing in many instances with the Spanish, and the currency with which he was working was the peso. And through an abbreviated form that he wrote, peso, transposing the P and the S, he created what's now recognized as the dollar sign.
I hope people from the community of Strabane will recognize that they had among them such an important contributor to American history.
Parkinson's disease is often considered as a condition that affects older adults. But early onset Parkinson's disease can also occur. And a young man from Nottingham spoke to Notts TV about being diagnosed with the condition and how it affects his life.
I was in my late 30s, seemingly invincible, and then suddenly to discover I'd got Parkinson's was a huge shock.
Why did you hide your diagnosis initially?
It took me a time to adjust to the news that I'd been diagnosed with Parkinson's, and a little bit of uncertainty about how people might react to me. On a practical level, whenever I felt like I was tremoring, I'd actually sit on my hand and in a meeting to sort of disguise the symptoms. It took me quite a while to get my head around the fact that I had been diagnosed with Parkinson's, and to find a way of telling people that I was working with and sort of my wider circle of friends.
How did your colleagues react when you did finally tell them?
Shock, because it was a real shock to people. Very unusual to be diagnosed with Parkinson's under the age of 40, but generally very understanding. So everybody that I've told has been incredibly understanding, caring, supportive. I decided to do it in quite a spectacular fashion, which was as I was setting off with a very good friend of mine to climb Mount Kilimanjaro.
This is our day 3 acclimatisation climb.
So on the way to Heathrow Airport, I emailed everybody in my company. We blitzed social media with the message and said that was what I was setting off to do. And 7 days later, we reached the top of Kilimanjaro 2 years after I was diagnosed with Parkinson's.
What's your message to people getting Parkinson's diagnoses right now? Just now discovering that they're going to be living with this condition?
Seek help, so talk to people and look for the positive stories. It is not a pleasant condition to live with. It is degenerative, there is no cure, but with medication you can continue to lead a relatively normal life, and seek out those sort of helpful and positive stories from those of us that are doing so.
Hospital radio plays an important role in the day-to-day routine of a hospital, offering comfort and relaxation to patients with a mixture of music and chat. Victoria Radio Network in Kirkcaldy has been entertaining staff and patients in the town's hospital since 1971, and STV Edinburgh recently tuned in to find out more.
VRN started about in 1971. It was actually a couple of guys, Richard Park and Colin Johnson. I started about maybe 25 years ago. I worked with British Telecom for 30 years and I was really interested in the technical side of it, and I discovered that, well, if other people were able to do broadcasting, then why not have a shot?
I've been here since 1980. That's 36 years, isn't it? All that time I've been doing request collecting and doing a request show every Thursday and a show of my own on a Wednesday. And we're all volunteers and we love doing it.
We knew each other from high school. I was in the same class as Cameron in first year, so I've known him for...
It's fun for us. Playing music, talking about music. We'll go and see a movie and we'll come back and we'll give a little review.
Although we have tens of thousands of these vinyls and, you know, a record selection of tracks going all the way from the 1940s, we do have also digital music available, so you get a good mix of music on hospital radio. Where's Elvis?
Well, people in hospital, they've got a lot of time to spare, and we try to fill that in with a mixture of programmes. And lots of people I see in hospital that I know. Every time I go home, my wife says, you see anybody today that you knew? And I would say, oh yes, I saw Mrs. So-and-so or so-and-so.
I like listening to radio, partly because I've got problems with my eyesight now and I can't see very well. It gives me an outside interest and I enjoy the interaction with the various age groups who pass through the studios.
Hope you enjoyed that one, Maggie. I've got a request from Jim from Ward 54. So here's a little bit. David Bowie, hope you enjoy.
For me anyway, I love doing it just for, you know, even if it doesn't involve any money, I just like doing it as a hobby.
I'm just like, that's fun. That's fun for us.
We're part of Kirkcaldy, we're Kirkcaldy people, and we keep that in mind all the time. Although we've got listeners in Dubai, how about that?
It's good being on VRN, good place.
And I hope it goes on. Well, see me out anyway, I'm sure.
That brings us to the end of part 1, which can only mean it's quiz time. In which city was the first X-ray photograph taken? Was it A, London, B, Birmingham, or C, Bristol? Join us in part 2 for the answer. Welcome back to Digital Nation. Before the break, we asked you, in which city was the first X-ray photograph taken? And the answer is B, Birmingham. Although X-rays were discovered in 1896, it was Birmingham's Surgeon Major John Hall Edwards who first applied the new technology to medical treatment that same year. Bharat Natyam is an ancient form of Indian classical dance based on the principles of spirituality and devotion through music and movement. An Indian dance academy in Preston has staged a special performance by a group of dancers from India to showcase this vibrant art form to the people of the city.
As a part of Abhinandana Dance Academy's annual event, we've been having the last 4 years, and this is the 4th year. I've invited a group from India, Sri Ramanataka Niketan, whom I've been associated for a very long time, and they're fantastic Bharat Natyam dancers. Most of the times we end up going to London, Birmingham, Liverpool, Manchester to watch these performances. And we have amazing audience in Preston. So I thought it's important that we bring the group here and let the audience have them at their doorstep to watch these amazing performances.
Today they will be performing a dance drama, sort of, which refers to our ancient heroine who is called Kodai, and then her wedding with the Lord Ranganatha. So about 50 minutes of today's program is dedicated to that dance drama, which is called Goda Kalyana.
Well, for me, I always understand Bharat Natyam or any dance form to be more spiritual. And when it's spiritual, you get to the understanding of what quantum energy we learn. Letting you flow to the universe, letting you flow to the energy of the universe. And it's when that connection is attained to the divine, is when we call Bharat Natyam's actual meaning of being union.
Dance encompasses life. So it's got everything in it. It's a very complete art. It's got sculpture, it's got music, it's got footwork. It's got a lot of aspects attached to it. So it appeals to people who are interested in every aspect of art. I think that is what Indian classical dance is all about.
The health profession has seen many changes over the years, and St James's Hospital in Leeds recently invited Enid, a retired nurse, back to visit her former workplace. The current chief nurse met with her to reminisce about her time at the hospital and to share stories about their respective careers.
An emotional journey for Enid Winkley, today travelling from Hull to the place she once worked and lived, her home over 60 years ago. First, for the former nurse, a special introduction to St James's Hospital 2016. Professor Suzanne Hinchcliffe is chief nurse at Jimmy's, to Enid, hospital matron, an opportunity then to share memories of her time here in the 1940s and 50s. A generation apart, but the pair had some common nursing knowledge.
Well, there was some degree of overlap when Enid was leaving the health service and when I was just starting out in the health service. So there was some reminiscence on the type of treatment and care that we provided to patients in the 70s in particular.
Enid, pictured here on the left, first trained as a nurse, then a midwife. She had to live on site. St James's Hospital was her home. Before being taken on tour, she was presented with a special surprise gift from Suzanne, a badge to recognise her services to the NHS here in Leeds.
We have fantastic numbers of staff who have worked with us in the past that come back, those that have retired, that want to come and visit and see how the buildings have changed over the years. They have very fond memories of Leeds hospitals.
In 1954, Enid was here to welcome Princess Margaret on a special visit to the hospital. Over 60 years later, the 93-year-old receives a royal welcome of her own.
Time to get creative in this week's Creative Kingdom. Is there anything more American than a hot dog? Well, that better be, because if you're looking for the original doghouse, it was Derby. It's all down to this man, Harry Stevens, who crossed the Atlantic in 1880 and became properly obsessed with baseball. He first made his mark by designing and selling the first ever baseball scorecard. But he really hit a home run when he bagged the rights to sell food and drink at ballparks across America. Took note of the new Dachshund sausages that had just come into the shops and started selling that old East Midlands favourite, the sausage cob. They were so successful that Harry set up stores all over New York, introducing the Big Apple to the long sausage. Proof once again that when it comes to creativity, innovation and cutting the mustard across the world, it's Derby Mint. Next, we head to Norwich, where a rare item of historical significance has been discovered in an unusual place. While surveying the contents of Norwich Cathedral's parish library, an expert found a piece of medieval Plainsong hidden away in the lining of one of the books, which may hold the secrets to the cathedral's past.
Hidden away in the depths of Norwich Cathedral, they've discovered something of a secret. Lorraine Finch is a book conservationist and had been brought in to do a survey of some of their books. That's when she came across something a little bit special, and all quite by accident.
I came to a box and I opened the box and I was looking at the book and it fell open, and underneath the end papers, which would normally be stuck down, there was a huge piece of Plainsong parchment which attracted my attention, but what really attracted my attention was what I call the monk doodling of the little face.
That historic bit of doodling is here, on the corner of this sheet of Plainsong.
I think it's amazingly exciting. I think the marginalia in itself is really important, because you don't see that particularly often, but to find this amount of Plainsong still surviving after 600 years, I think it's of national significance.
But why was it here, stuck inside the cover of a 600-year-old book?
The dissolution of the monasteries is roughly 1536. So at that point, a lot of this parchment, this plain chant, becomes redundant. And there's a huge amount of it that bookbinders think we can use this. And it's an example of 15th century recycling.
The annual lambing season is a tradition across the nation's rural communities. And STV Glasgow recently paid a visit to the Drumsiny estate in Lochgoilhead to learn all about life on the farm. Presenters Jennifer Rioch and David Farrell arrived just in the nick of time to witness a new life coming into the world.
Today we've come to Drumsiny Estate, where not only do they have beautiful scenery like that, from Lochgoilhead, which is stunning, they've also got a holiday park and, believe it or not, a farm with 1,000 sheep.
And a lot of sheep mean a lot of lambs.
A lot of cute wee lambs.
Oh, so we've come up to see if we can hopefully see a baby lamb being born right
with
here this
1,000
morning.
sheep, I'm hoping so.
Fingers crossed.
Let's go and meet Chris, our shepherd.
Came from with a small holding in Ireland, but it wasn't big enough to make a living at, so I decided to come over here and try working for somebody, so I've came here and I've got on well so far. There's 700, we'll lamb 700 black-faced Joes, and then there'll be between Texels, blue-faced Leicesters and crosses, we'll lamb about 1,000 sheep in total every year, all through this shed. This one's just actually started to lamb, and as you can see, it's coming in the perfect position. The 2 feet forward in the head, in between the legs. So Patrick's just going to give it a bit of assistance because she's scanned for one, and it might be a big lamb. So let it get its breath before he cuts the nail, you know, the umbilical cord, so as it can breathe on its own. That's that lamb now. That's a birth for you.
All these ewes are actually pregnant at the moment. They're all due pretty soon.
These are all due within the next 10 days. I would say lamb within 5 days of the due date, and then with 2 batches of that. So quite busy, but it gets us through a lot of sheep in a short space of time. So.
Yeah.
Ooh, do you like that?
She doesn't really care. She just wants some food.
Keep doing that. I'll get some milk.
Aww. Hungry.
And finally, we have a story that is simply elementary. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's iconic creation of Sherlock Holmes has spawned a wealth of collectibles, and an ambitious PhD student has turned amateur sleuth to track down a set of rare postcards in Portsmouth. That Solon met her to take up the case.
Rare Sherlock Holmes postcards have been unearthed in Portsmouth. The postcards depict some of the detective series' most iconic moments. They were discovered in Portsmouth City Council's massive Sherlock Holmes collection by an industrious PhD student.
So I contacted a few people who I knew who were quite knowledgeable on Sherlock Holmes, and also I contacted a postcard expert who dealt in postcards, and he said that to find one would be lucky. They're very rare, so he wished me luck on my endeavour, and yeah, said he'd never seen them, even though he knew of them. I went into the collection, had a look, and actually very quickly found all six postcards.
The author behind Sherlock, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, created the iconic detective while working in Portsmouth.
I mean, I think Sherlock Holmes appeals to everyone. You know, they're very easy to read, so working class, you know, readers back in the day could have easily read him, and you know, things like Titbits actually published parodies and pastiches of Sherlock Holmes stories written by the readers. He's lasted so long because every generation has kind of taken on Sherlock Holmes for themselves, particularly through adaptations and through film and through TV. You have all sorts of people and all sorts of different types of Holmes, and people really connect with him in their own way.
And that completes our rundown of the best of local. If our stories have inspired you, then don't forget there's more you can see on each of the local TV channels' websites. Or why not catch up on previous episodes of the show by visiting bbc.co.uk/Digital Nation. So until next week, goodbye.